Yet another heat wave. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue Review video for the Ogor Mawtribes. Yes, Games Workshop have been very kind and they've sent me the rest of the new Ogor Mawtribes stuff that was due to come out, previewed all those months ago, and oh boy, this week has been absolutely unbearable. I know I'm preaching to the choir. A bunch of you here in the UK, you have experienced the exact same thing, but this is, I think, our 5th heat wave over the last couple of weeks, and this one was the worst one yet. It got to 44 degrees Celsius up here 2 days ago. So basically my paints have been massacred. We're kind of doing the triage a little bit at the moment, just sort of going through and discovering which ones have been absolutely cooked off. So it's been a really tough week, and I haven't been able to do anything at all because we've been struggling. I mean, I will say we've done 2 things, which is build and sprue review the kits. So, and we've primed them all as well. So that's the 3 things. 3 things. It's not the end of the world. And I was really, really pumped after having got all of them done. And then, bam, slammed straight into the wall that was, you cannot work for a few days. Just not allowed because of the heat. I haven't even done my hair. I've just realised. My goodness me. Yeah, I'm very disheveled and bedraggled at the moment. So it's been a really tough week. So I'm just going to warn you now. We've painted nothing. Haven't been able to. It's just not been possible. I've started 2 things. Trying to kind of catch up a little bit. I've started the 2 foot characters because I thought they might be quick. And maybe we'll get them done by the end of the day. But at the moment, nothing is finished because the whole week has been a complete write-off. And it's annoyed me, quite frankly. Yeah. A little bit of venting. Venting is something that this room needs, because whoever moves in here after us, they will die in this attic. They just will. So it does actually make the editing of this video a little bit simpler, because I don't have to run around doing all of the B-roll or anything like that. I don't have to finish any basing, because there is none to finish. But one thing I will say is about this range is it is extremely exciting, and it was so exciting to be able to get my hands on these and then to look at the sprues themselves. Oh boy, you're in for a treat. If you're thinking of picking up any of these, they're very, very good. Of course, your mileage may vary, but mine were just top quality. So we're going to jump in and have a look at those sprues and those models, of course, in just a moment. But before we do that, do please consider hitting the like button on this video. Comment below. Are you excited for more Ogor Mawtribes? Have you already built the army set? Are you already mostly complete with it? Are you ready to go for the next wave? I am now. Hopefully it cools down over the next week. But there's no promises these days. 6th heat wave incoming or something. I don't know. It might just appear out of nowhere. It just seems to happen. So, and also, finally, the 3rd thing. If you could please hit that subscribe button, I would really, really appreciate it, because I need all the help I can get these days. It's been a rough couple of months. All right, let's get on the road with the Butcher. I really like this guy. I think it's fantastic. I'm really excited by this one. It's just a beautiful new model. It looks wonderful. It looks like there's actually an optional extra here as well. So an optional head. Maybe that's the extended edge. Let's find out, shall we? But it's such a nice model. It's such a good glow up for the Butcher. It's gorgeous. Gorgeous stuff. Alright. Here we go. And we are open. Boom. That looks like a 50mm round base to me if ever I've seen one. Alright. So, what do we got? We have our instruction manual. Just a little small one, which is good. It is 9 pieces by the looks of things. Perfect. And it's a 50mm round base. And the optional extra is indeed the head. So you got the hood or the non-hooded version. So that's cool. Nice and efficient. efficient use of sprue-age. So, right, let's have a look at it, shall we? So when we looked at the ogres before, one of the things we were always going to be on the lookout is for how many kind of connection points we have on the smooth flesh of our ogres. And here, it does not disappoint. We have one there, just on what I think is the bicep, and we have one here on the shoulder. This one we're on the other side of the rock, though. So that's fab. It's really good. Very minimal connections going on here on this piece. In terms of mold lines, we appear to be reasonably good condition as well. We have one of the butcher's legs, where there is 2 connection points, 1 and 2, on the horn. Well, this big bit of horn, basically this tusk that's come off of something or other. So yeah, this one, actually no, this one is probably the slight problem, just because it's up there in a kind of quite prominent area. This one not so much. So again, just move with the curvature of the piece. You should be fine otherwise. Pretty simple. They're quite big, so it makes it quite easy to spot as you're going around. The butcher's knife here does not, or cleaver, does not have a connection point on the cutting edge of the blade. Fantastic. The non-hooded head has a connection point on the underside of the neck, and this one is right on top of the hood. It's probably just about tolerable, just about simple enough to kind of deal with, but it's just worth bearing in mind. You might prefer to use the non-hooded head, just because you won't have to do quite as much cleanup up here on the top. There's probably still mold lines, but you won't have to do quite as much cleanup. We have another part of the leg here. Now there's connection points on the outside here and here and here, and actually that is a cut off on the midway through a piece of trouser, which kind of slots in there. So we're going to be probably using quite a fair bit of glue to make sure that that's nice and kind of closed off. Otherwise there is a potential for a gap just there on that piece, around there on that leg. And then we have the kind of last bits of the model, which are the cauldron, where we're connected once, twice, 3 times, 4 times on the collectively between the 2 pieces of cauldron. But we're just on a flat cauldron, so it's okay. But it is split right down the middle, so again there might be a gap going right down the middle of your cauldron, but possibly just about okay, because it looks like there might be a little bit of overlap in some places, so that's pretty good. And the sort of gubbins that's in there just kind of slots in on the top as well, so there's not hopefully there's not going to be too much kind of sort of juggling to get it sort of in together. So overall this is a really nice sprue. I think it's great. It continues for now the quality of the Ogre Mawtribes. So let's get this guy built and see how long it takes to do exactly that. Alrighty, one down, butcher's done. It's a little bit kind of finagly to get the sort of the bits in here and there. So like the, it's really this kind of belt section here that goes onto that sort of apron. It's just kind of got a sort of angle of the dangle here, but pretty good otherwise. So let's look at another one, shall we? We have Grell Firefist, the named foot character for the Ogre Mawtribes, all new, so there shouldn't be any optional extras going on here, so hopefully it's only like 8 or 9 pieces as well, although I doubt it, because we've got a named character here, so 10 or 11 is probably more likely what we'll be experiencing. And there we go. 50mm round base as well by the looks of things, once again, so yeah, look, it's already more components. There's 15 here, and we're probably going to be using all of them. So let's have a look. 50mm round base, yep. 1, 2, 3, 15 is the highest number. 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 is the highest number. There you go. So significantly, almost double the amount of components of the butcher, which is interesting. But there we go. Fine, I guess. No options. So let's have a look at this, shall we? So as ever, as we've always kind of talked about. The ogre things are going to be present, and we just want to see how many of them there in fact are. And actually, there doesn't seem to really be that many. We've got one here on the underside of the trousers / skirt type thing, and then one here in the armpit, which is going to be covered up by whatever we glue on top of that, which will be an arm. We are a body in half here, so well, 2 and 3. Presumably, I think they went together. I think it was 2, 3, and 15, wasn't it? Something like that. All went together. So we might have a seam going down the side of the model. So that's just something to bear in mind in terms of the amount of glue usage we're going to have. The cannon as well is in 2 halves, so we might have a seam going down the middle, but it's connected pretty fine on 2 flat sections. No congestion here. 1, 2, 1, and 2. So that's pretty good. The arms were connected once here on the leather, so not on the muscle, and once here on the elbow, which I think might be a muscle, or it might not be. It might just be leather, which is also just fine. It looks just about tolerable, but it is very close to that pauldron, so it's going to be quite congested area to get your clippers into, so just watch out for that. We have not got a connection point on the cutting edge of this blade, which is fantastic. Bit of armor just once connected there. We've got the legs. The legs are in 1 piece each, so we don't have the risk of any seams going down the middle of the boot here, so that's good. The head of Grell has got 2 connection points, once on the top of the head and once on the underside of the chin. That's just a little bit more over-engineered than it needs to be, but there we go. That's fine, I guess. We'll just have to deal with it. It just means we're going to be really careful here, and probably just here as well, because of the sort of orientation of the head. It's sort of looking this way, so you just want to make sure you don't take too much off and don't flatten that off, because the chin will be noticeable here, but at least we're not connected on the hair or anything like that. We're just here on the smooth parts of the model's head, so it's a little bit easier, but it's still worthy of consideration for some careful building techniques. The leather connected absolutely fine, and the boots themselves, we've already talked about them being in 1 piece, but they're connected just fine as well. Once at the seam, and once on the underside of the foot, once at the seam, and once at the underside of the foot. So it's not like kind of on the ankle or on the knee or anything like that, which is fantastic. Mold lines, we seem to be in pretty good condition once again, continuing our run of fantastic Ogres kits. Surely the streak must come to an end at some point. Of course, mileage may vary, but we shall see in the future. Well, check out how long it takes to build Grell Firefist. I really like this one. I'm excited to play with it. Our 2 new characters on 50mm bases, well, basically our 2 new foot carriers characters, aside from the Tyrant, are all built. They look fantastic. I love them both. I really like Grell. I think that Butcher is beautiful. It's just absolutely stunning miniatures. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to build a unit. We are going to build the Cleavers, which can be built as an optional Gutseers. So it's 2 new things really for the Ogres, and they're both beautiful. I think I'm probably going to build Cleavers because I just like the idea of having sort of mini butchers with my butcher. I think that just looks cool. So we're just gonna, I'm not sure which one's the competitive option. I think possibly the Gutseers, because they let spells get cast from wizards into them and then from them, I believe is the thing, like 12 inches away, whereas the butchers are sort of more of like another like heavy combat unit. They get stuff like if they're within range of a wizard or a priest, you roll a 3+ or something like that, and you get to pick either crit 2 hits or crit mortals if you've already got crit 2 hits. So that's cool. So I think we're going to do that maybe. But let's have a look, shall we? So 2 whole sprues. There's a lot of components going on here. 1 and 2 to build 3 models. They are on 40mm round bases. You can spot that from a mile away. So here is the instruction manual as well. Farewell bases fall to the ground. Okay, so how do we build things? Well, it tells us to build cleavers with a number of different things. We've got a champion or just a regular cleaver there. And we'll move on to the next page. Makes sense. So it's all the same thing. Oh, no, it's a little bit confusing. It's pink track up to there. And then where's the head? 62, is it the same head? No, it's not the same head. Oh no, the head has happened earlier. 14, there we go. So at the end of this, you're done. But if you want to make some changes, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, yellow is the alternate version. Then there's blue, which I think is just the next cleaver. Yeah, yep. And then there's the final cleaver up to there, yes. And then on the other page, it's just very separate. So it's not like kind of build the bodies and then add your cosmetics. There we go. All right, actually makes sense. It just took me a little moment to figure that out. The Gutseers have just a champion version by the looks of things. So champion, yeah. Hold on. Oh, it's there. No. This is a little bit confusing. I can't quite figure that out. So we go 6A, 6B, 6C, 6D, 7A, 7B, 7C, 8A, 8B, 8C. Okay, yeah, it is a linear path. All right, that's just me not being able to read. Okay, let's have a look, shall we? Here we go. Here is sprue number 1. And what have we got here? Well, first things first, all of our weapons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, all avoid having any kind of connection point on any cutting edge of any blade. So far, perfect, beautiful, lovely. Wonderful stuff. The heads, though, we are connected once and twice here, and then once and twice there. The hoods, I think, are probably on the other sprue. Actually, I'm not seeing any of them here. But we do, as ever, have to look out for things like the... oh, there's a hood. Yeah, well, okay, there's a connection point right on the top of the hood. So that's a kind of sort of slight warning there. We want to make sure you're being very careful. But as ever with ogres, we're looking for connection points on things like the muscle groups and stuff like that. And we're also looking for that kind of seam that we're having down the side of the trousers, which we have on this body here, over here. And so you can see, there you go, in halves. Actually, just a quick point, the mold lines look fantastic again. The streak continues, wonderful, lovely stuff. So we do have connection points on the muscles here, 1 and 2, and we have one here as well, 1 and 2. This looks like it's a muscle. Yeah, that's at the top of a hand there for the cauldron. Is that hand in half? That hand is missing a piece of it, so you might have a seam going down the middle of that hand that's holding that cauldron on the champion. So just watch out for that. Use plenty of glue and you should be fine. Yeah, okay, cool. I mean, this looks like mostly a weapon sprue, to be honest, but it's all making sense. Fairly consistent so far with Ogre's internal logic. There we go. We have the other sprue, and we have another hood. So this hood actually doesn't have a connection point on the top of it, so that's really good. We should have a third one, which I might not have spotted on this sprue here, because there's the back of one, but maybe we'll encounter it in our travels through this sprue. Ah, yes, we found it. There we go. So yeah, that also has a connection point right on the top of the hood. So again, a very prominent area where you want to be careful with how much you're taking off. You want to smooth it down nice and gently. We do have the sort of consistent thing going on here with heads, though, so on the top of the head and on the cheek there and in the hair. So the heads all seem to be more of a problem on this sprue than they perhaps have been so far in our ogre building journey, but we also do have minimal connection points on this body over here, but we do still have some in the flesh, one there And over here we have it there and there and there as well. It's quite a congested area around here, so you just want to be careful again, just maneuvering your clippers in so you don't gouge out your model or anything like that. But it does actually feel quite familiar to what we've done so far. These belly plates look fantastic, as do the ones over here on this other sprue as well. We didn't quite mention them, but they're wonderful, like single piece belly plates, which is absolutely fantastic. So with all that in mind, it's a slightly more complex sprue than we've seen so far in this video at least, but it does still feel quite familiar to the Ogres. The sprues are in really good condition, so they're not going to be too difficult to clean up, I should think. And, well, I guess we just have to put that to the test and see how long it takes to build a cleaver, or if I change my mind and do the other version. I'll stick with the... yeah, let's just do the combat boys. They look fantastic. So cleaver's all done. Very similar to the butcher. There's a little bit of finagling to get things in. So like just in the corners and like sort of some of the muscle groups and things just kind of wrap around and push in. There's some bits where it almost feels like you just clip it in. But very similar to the butcher, which is kind of nice really if you build all 4 of those miniatures at once. So we've got another unit to go, which is the hunters with saber fangs. And here they are. So, very cool little unit, 5 models, and some optional things going on here apparently. So we've got some cosmetic options, I think, going on with the unit, which is nice. So let's have a little look inside the box. Oh, we've got some loose bases there, so those will be our saber fang bases. There we go. And we've got a loose piece. Just one loose piece. Looks like it. So there's a bit of pressure has happened somewhere along the line. I'm sure we'll find it. Not there. Maybe here somewhere. Interesting. It's a bit of a... it's a half a helmet. There's 1, 2, 5, 6... maybe it is on that first sprue. I can't spot it. I'm sure it'll leap out at me. Unless it's intentionally left off, but I just don't see how that's the case. Because that would be very strange indeed. Or it's an extra piece from another box has somehow made it in. No, I genuinely can't spot where it's missing. It's very interesting. Okay. Maybe it'll come up when we're building the models. How very strange. There's a mystery now that I want to solve rather desperately. Nope, I genuinely just cannot spot it. Maybe you've already seen it at home. What a mystery. Okay. Alright, well, we'll pop that there for the moment. Stick that over there. Okay, so here we go. Hunters with saber fangs. What do we got? Well, we've got some 40mm round bases. We've got some 60mm oval bases as well. And here we go. So hunters with saber fangs. So we can build a champion, I would guess. With a little vulture, which has got also the helmeted option and the non-helmeted option, both which look very, very cool indeed. So we build up the model up to this point, and then we choose the champion by the looks of things. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So that's cool. So the pink track is going to be the champion, and there's a non-champion version, of course, as you often see with such things. We then move on to the next one, and there is, again, a helmeted option and a non-helmeted option, but that seems to be the only case with that one, by the looks of things. Yep. And then we move on to the final one, where there is helmeted and non-helmeted option as well. And then we build the 2 saber fangs, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces each for the saber fangs. So that's the thing, I guess. Alright, well, let's have a look at those sprues maybe whilst we were reviewing them. We've already had a good long look at them already, but whilst we're reviewing them, maybe we'll find the missing piece wherever it may be. So, usual things apply here, of course. So we're looking at things like the connection points on areas like the soft flesh of the saber fangs, for sure, and of course of the hunters as well. Seems to be predominantly saber fangs here on this sprue, which is nice because it maybe almost perfectly goes down the middle in terms of where the pieces are placed, which makes for a nice logic of the kit in terms of going through it, which is good. So mostly saber fangs over here, and well, the stuff that we often sort of look for is all present in and around these things. So connection point there on the rounded part of the tail. We have one here on the paw, one on the back of the saber fang, one under the paw, that's fine, one here on the rump, here on the tail, under paw, and on the face right there, but that is going to be covered up by a snout, so that's going to be okay just there. Same here, rounded part of the back, so we just want to move with the curvature of the piece as usual in such eventualities. We have a big old sword, knife, big choppy thing here. There's no connection point on the cutting edge of that blade, and we don't really have much in the way of the ogre bodies over here, but we do have 1 or 2 pieces where we have one connection point there on the rounded part of the arm, but it does look like it's the leather part, so not too bad. It's not the kind of muscles where we want them to be nice and round and smooth. I still cannot for the life of me see where we're missing a component. I think somehow I've inherited somebody else's half of a helmet, so at least it's not crucial to life, if it's because it's definitely half a helmet. But yeah, I still cannot see it for the life of me. We can count the helmet pieces though as we go, and then if we're missing one on the sprue, we know that it's definitely here somewhere. So 1 and 2 pieces there makes sense. 55 and 54, they'll go together, so that makes 1 helmet. The only slight downside, of course, with the saber fangs as well is that the faces are in 2 halves, so we just want to watch out for a seam going down the middle of them, as usual. And of course, because we've got the snout sticking on the end as well, we also want to watch out for a seam going around the nose, basically. Okay, well, that's sprue number 1. We do have one of the bald heads, which I don't think a helmet goes on. You can tell where the helmet goes with the ogres, because there's usually a ridge that's unnatural on there, so I think that's intended to be there, where we do have a connection point there right on the top of the bald head. Of course, it might be that a helmet goes on it, so that's okay if it does, because you can just cover that up if you kind of accidentally take too much off with your knife or mold line remover. Okay, so 2 helmet pieces there. Let's have a look and see if we can find the others. I'm not optimistic. 1 and 2 helmet pieces. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if there's 4 helmets and I've got all the pieces, this is just fascinating to me that this is the case, that this has happened somehow. I just cannot understand where that spare piece is. It's so weird. Normally you spot these things eventually, but I'm just not spotting it. How weird. Anyway, this is where we've got most of our ogre pieces, and again, it's very consistent with the rest of the stuff. We're looking for connection points on muscle groups and the sort of smooth, rounded edges where we want them to be nice and easy to deal with, and there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of them here either. Mold lines, again, are in excellent condition. Is this the best range of miniatures ever from Games Workshop? I think it might well be. It's looking good. We don't have a connection point on the cutting edge of this blade, so that's fantastic. Underside of the boat here, we do have one there on the belly. We have one here on the neck, but that'll be covered up. We have one here on the belt, so that's nice and flat. We have the arm here. We do have a connection point there right on top of the gauntlet that they have, the sort of the armor panel that goes across the hand, so that is something to bear in mind. We want to be careful around there, not to take off the rivets or smoothing it off too much, because again, quite a very obvious piece to accidentally do that on, but there we go. Okay, well, despite the mystery piece, I really like this set of sprues. It's very consistent with all the ogres we've seen so far. There's not a huge amount to write home about other than the sort of typical stuff you want to look for, and that's a really good thing. So I guess we just have to wait and see how long it takes to build them, which we shall do now. With our units and foot heroes now built, it's time to move on to the centerpieces. So we're going to start with Red the Maw, because, well, we'll save the big one till last. So here it is. Shouldn't be any optional extras going on here, because this is a named character after all. But it's a big one. It's one of those kind of classic diorama-esque miniatures, which I often think Games Workshop could do with doing a few more of, like the Triumph of St. Catherine and stuff like that. So here it is. Let's have a look. It's a very thin box, but it feels quite dense. So it feels quite weighty. So we'll have to wait and see. Although that's not a particularly thick instruction manual. That is a mere nothing on the back page. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages on a 160mm round base. Blimey. Okay. Cool. That means it should be fairly spacious in order to do everything that we need to do for Red the Maw. So we have 1 and we have 2 sprues, one of which is snapped just up here. It looks like the pressure of the component has pushed it down. So if anything, the component is quite sturdy there, which is good. And then we have our big old round base there as well. So we'll have a look at this one first, because this will be the quicker of the 2 sprues by the looks of things, because it's majority Big Cauldron Boy, or Big Cauldron Bit, I should say. So the reason we're looking at this bit first is because all of this stuff should be flat and on a 2D plane. For example, this bit, this bit, this bit, this bit, this bit. So it's all pretty simple and easy to clear up. What we're really just on the lookout for here is just kind of really small or tiny kind of bits that we might miss, and also any kind of really textured bits. For example, this corpse just here, which I don't know where that goes. It might be on someone's belt, or it might be in the cauldron itself. If we flip it over, we should see, blimey, look at that horrible goop. Well, not if you're an ogre. It's great goop if you're an ogre. So all of this stuff should be fairly simple to build and put together. Well, clip off and put together, because it's all nice flat components. Just connected around the outside of nice flat 2D components, which is great. But we do have a couple of the bodies and things, like for example over here and here and here, where because they're quite robed, we shouldn't see too much in the way of connection points on things like muscles. However, we do have one just there, but this one is on the hood, and this one is also on the hood. This one's on the belt and the underside of the robe there and there. So that's pretty good. We do have one there on the elbow, and that's it. Pretty good. We do have a head here, actually, where we are connected on the top of the hood. The head is in 2 halves, but it's got stitching along it, so it's not the end of the world if there is a gap between the 2 bits. So the stitching's holding the 2 bits of parchment fabric together, which is pretty cool. So ultimately, that's quite a nice sprue. There's nothing too small here. There's occasional little arm or gauntlet or glove, like for example just that one there, and there is another one just there. Those are going to be the ones that are going to be hard to spot, but theoretically we should be doing the crew after we've done all of this stuff. So that's pretty nice. I like it. It's a good looking sprue, isn't it? Both the blades, I will say, this one and this one over here, we are connected not on the cutting edges of the blades, which is fantastic. And we do have a couple of horn tusk type things where we are connected just once on the horn itself, right at the base. So it's less obvious when it's down there. It's a little bit easier to clean up. Same goes for this one. And this one, they're in the segments, so we do at least have the segments to help us stop, which is okay, but we just want to be careful with these really rounded ones, this one and that one, component 13 and 12. So yeah, there you go. Not too much to point out there, looking good though. Then we have the other sprue, our snapped sprue. This is where I suspect we're going to find most of the crew, and that is indeed the case. So we have most of the crew here, and again, similar things that we've already talked about for ogres are all present here. Connection point on the belly there on the, I think that's a muscle group. Yeah, it's just above the belt line. And we've got here and here on the belly as well. So there's things to point out. We do have the wheels, which are not got really close. Have not got really close studs, which is great, like a tire track, or sometimes they've got really close little studs like this one going around. There's sort of the grippy studs on the ground. Sometimes they're a little bit too close, so it makes like kind of cleaning them up a little bit difficult. Because the mold lines are in such good condition, once again for Read the More, it means that that shouldn't be too difficult to clean up. We do have a cleaver here where there's no connection point on the cutting edge of that cleaver, which is fantastic. And we have a naked leg. Haven't seen many of those in the ogres so far. These are kind of quite svelte ogres. I think that might actually be the gorger that's at the front. Yeah, that would make sense why it's not wearing very much in the way of clothing. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a pretty good looking sprue. I love this piece here with the big chain. Do have a connection point there on the arm, but that's the only one over here. That chain is very sturdy. I would say like there's no kind of brittleness here or flimsy components, which is what we kind of come to expect, but we do have this snap just here, so it's connected there on the staff, but for whatever reason pressure has just pushed that down and snapped that quite easily. So that could translate as to a snap in the middle of the component for yours perhaps, but it is quite a textured staff, so that should be easy to line up if that is in fact happened. Of course I don't want to make assumptions, but it is a possibility. I do have a couple of the heads here, one with a connection point right on the top of the bald head, and that will be for the gorger that's dragging the whole ensemble. That will be the only option for the head. In fact, there are no optional extras, even just by having that very quick look through the instruction manual. So it's looking pretty good. We do actually have Red's head just here, with connection point on both the cheeks. So we're just going to want to be really careful there and make sure we don't take too much off with our knife or mold line remover. But overall, I mean, look, it's a pretty simple sprue to look at, and it's flipping awesome. I was gonna swear then, but we don't normally do that. I like this a lot. I really like it. I can't wait to see how it spaces out. It's going to be interesting in that regard as to kind of like how much distance we've got to work with here and how big this actually is on this massive base, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too much of an issue. So let's find out. So that's Red all built. I did think about putting the ogres on separate 40mm bases for the purposes of painting them, but there's actually so much clearance around them, and you could even build it with more clearance. You could bring these guys sort of a little bit further forward, so you've got a really good angle on everything. But there's so much kind of spare space around this model, I don't think you really need to do it. The only slight area, perhaps difficulty, is going to be just through there, but we can get the brush in there, no problem, I suspect. So there we go, Read the More all built. So we've got one more model to look at, and of course it's, I think, the headline. I'm of course talking of Morga the Mighty, the Over Tyrant. This one builds a Tyrant on Gluthorn as well, this version, so it's not super different to this one. She is the big bad boss, and she's fantastic and a beautiful miniature, and I cannot wait to get painting this one. I think it's going to be really fun. So let's get it open and get it built. Let's have a look at Morga the Mighty. There we go. Another tray. And we have one sprue, one small A5 size booklet, and then two more sprues joined together down the seam, and we have a big oval base. There we go. Not a huge amount of things in here. So what have we got? We have got a 120mm oval base. It's pretty hefty. It's not as big as obviously red, but that's sort of more of a diorama-esque type thing. So here we go. We build up the glut horn, I think is what it's called. Yeah, glut horn. We build up to there's optional armor plates. I think you're definitely going to put those on. It's less skin to paint then, isn't it? So you build up the glut horn up to this stage, and then it's a case of separating out. Yeah, that's what I thought it might be. So pink track for Morgan the Mighty on 1, 2, 3 pages, and the Tyrant on glut horn for 1, 2, 3 pages. 4 pages. Tyrant on glut horn's the harder build, clearly. All right, well, here we go. Let's have a look. So we'll start with this big sprue here, and this is where I suspect, this is the vast majority of the glut horn itself. These are some very, very, very pretty, very large pieces of plastic right here. They've all got a nice little bit of texture to them as well, so this should be really good for contrast paint. They're not like completely smooth, which is really good. It just means that the contrast paint will flow over it quite nicely because of all those tiny little recesses and bits of detail in there. So what are we looking for? Well, we are going to be connected, of course, on massive muscle groups. However, we do have, because it's such a big model, the thing we're going to have to watch out for is we're going to have to watch out for seams in places where there might be gaps, for example, along there where that leg is going to go into the body. Let's just say it goes sort of around here, for example. Is the leg in 2 halves? Yes, it is. So the leg could potentially have a seam going down the middle of the foot and leg just there. Same for the tail as well. So we're going to be wanting to use plenty of glue and making sure we're not not being too sparse with it in order to sort of press these pieces together and make sure we close up those gaps that could potentially be there. I would imagine on a model of this size, usually they're very good at sort of engineering it in such a way where there shouldn't be big gaps, but we should, of course, wait and see and pass judgment a little bit later on. But yeah, so we're looking for kind of just being very careful when we're going up against the seams like here. But the thing I can see really mostly that's going on is we've got connection points that are kind of right up against where it is going to join into other places. There's a couple of things that overlap. For example, this one here is on that bit of leather, and so is that one there. This one's on the saddle. This one is also on the saddle. This one is in the seam, and this one is also on a bit of leather. So we're not actually touching any of the skin of the glut horn there, which is pretty good. Here we're on the underside of the foot, which is a raised foot. So that is somewhere we just need to be a little bit careful. We've got a bit of spare sprue there, which that definitely needs to come off. But then again, we're here on leather, on the saddle, on the connection point, on the connection point. So it's looking pretty good so far in terms of the way it's been engineered on the sprue, which is fantastic. No, that's lovely. The head naturally is going to be in 2 halves. We do have a connection point right here on the top of the horn. So again, the horn is in 1 piece, I think, on both versions of the head. Yeah, it's not in half, so there's no seam going to go down the horn, thankfully, which is really good. We just need to be careful that we don't take too much off here and flatten it off, because we want that to be nice and round and smooth. We've got a little bit of mortar over here, but it's connected pretty nicely in areas where it's going to be covered up by armor and stuff. The mold lines look to be in pretty good shape again, so that is a fantastic hit rate on all of these ogre kits. Honestly, I'm really impressed with them so far. The quality of them has been fantastic. There's a couple of little bit of nods to like the Maulbeast cavalry. For example, there aren't stirrups. There's tusks and things with the feet that are going to be resting on those that ride around. Like I said, the Maulbeasts were the same, which is really cool. A little bit of a sort of consistent internal design logic going on there. We do have the reins I think, by the looks of things, in one single piece, which is very rare that happens. Often there's like one rein that you have to sort of balance across like 3 different touch points in order to make sure it lines up with the hand, and even then it doesn't, which should then mean that sub-assembly, if that's what you want to do, should be a little bit easier in that regard, which is great. Because sometimes it can slip, right, when you have like like the hand is holding one of the reins and then one of the other reins is a separate entity that comes along like this. Trying to get those lined up when you then have finished the paint job is sometimes a little bit more tricky than it perhaps needs to be. But this is a pretty simple sprue, to be honest. There's nothing tiny here that we're going to miss. It doesn't look like we've got like one toenail or anything like that that's separate from the legs. The legs look to be in, well, pretty good condition in terms of putting them together. So it's a very impressive sprue, that one. I think that's very, very nice. That's cool. Let's have a look at the other one, where we should see, yeah, so this one has the sort of other halves of things like the legs and tail, for example. So literally right there, it's the first piece I saw. So that will glue into the other one, and again, so you just want to watch out for that seam. It's pretty textured going along there. It's not like a straight flat line, so it should be okay if it's been engineered that way. So that's awesome. What have we got? The sword here for the tyrant, that does not have any connection point on the cutting edge of the blade. So yeah, I mean, ogres are basically the best consistently throughout all of their kits that we've looked at. I think this is a spectacular range of models. It's wonderful. It's truly good set of sprues all around. At least my experience. Of course, your mileage might vary a little bit, but generally, I think, you know, in this wave, it's been perfect. We do have things to watch out for. Obviously, we've got smooth tusks here and here, which we've talked about a lot already in this video and in the previous sprue review. We just want to be careful. Again, don't apply too much pressure. Move with the curvature of the piece. Same here and here as well. Same over here as well, and there and there and there and there. I don't think we use all of these pieces. I think one is Morga and one is the Tyrant. So you know, it's not the end of the world. But this piece is really impressive. To only have 1 and 2 connection points and slightly trickier bits to get to in these large horns, which is really nice because this one is in the segment. Again, you don't want to go towards the lip of the segment. You want to come away from it. So you want to go this way when you're smoothing out rather than that way, because you don't want to take the lip off the those segments of the horns. But otherwise, it's very good. Wow. Oh, ogres, man. I really didn't know that they were going to be rocket straight to the top of my favorite factions in Age of Sigmar based on the sprues and the paint jobs alone, but I think they might well have done. Not my ultimate favorite, Stormcast, of course, but I've loved this. I found my destruction home, and I couldn't be happier about it. Let's see how long it takes to build Morga the Mighty, because of course we're going to do that one. Well, there you go. That's all of the new Ogre Mawtribes now done. All built and all sprue reviewed. Are we painted? No. You already know that. Told you that at the top of the video. So, what do we think? We just skip right past the B-roll. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to be working on them all weekend. So there will be Ogre Mawtribes painting videos coming for you guys. I promise. They are on the way. I just finally have some time to do them. So we're just going to paint at whirlwind speed to get all of it done. That's what we're going to try and do. Anyway, what do we think of the kits? Well, ultimately, as you will have already seen in the video, I'm extremely positive about all of these. I think the build experience of them alone is just really fun. I think it's a very, 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 very good set of models. And there was a lot of kind of potential worrisome moments, I think, throughout the Ogre Mawtribes. For example, like, does the Gluthorn go together? Do the Morby's cavalry suck to build? Do the ogres themselves have like big, like sort of seam lines along the arms and all this kind of thing. But there's none of that. Ultimately, I think it's just a spectacular set of miniatures all round. I think if I was I'm gonna make a bold claim now. I think this might be the best it's ever been from Games Workshop. I think they've really thought about these. These kits go together exceptionally well. They are beautiful models. The range is really cool. It feels nice and sort of tight and sort of very kind of well defined, and there's clear direction with them, and I love it. I'm such a big fan. Now, of course, the downside of the range is that the points are extremely high on everything, as well they probably should be. So it means that you, on the one hand, don't have to buy too much to have a well-functioning army, to have it's a pretty quick project, really, in the end. But the downside is that you don't need to buy very much to have a very functioning army, because it's really difficult to make those decisions based on how great this range is. You are not going to go wrong buying any of the things, as far as I can tell, in my opinion. I think they are just exceptional kits. They are really fun to build. They are pretty easy to build at the end of the day, and they are a bundle of fun to paint. If you are thinking of getting into Age of Sigmar, I genuinely think this is the place to start. Do not be afraid of the skin. That is, I think, the painting question I think that comes up the most, or at least the barrier to entry with these is that they are very naked, and people don't like painting skin. But ultimately, I think with contrast paints, you can do it really well and really quickly, and you don't have to do anything to it other than just slap Gilman flesh on it at the end of the day. So I really genuinely think this is a really good way in to Age of Sigmar if you're thinking about it, and you can't go wrong by buying any of the models, really. I mean, look, there's the occasional thing here and there, of course. No Sprue is absolutely 100% perfect, you know. If only everything was only ever connected on the underside of the boot, for example, because it's just, I mean, that's just a fact of life, right? It's just the way that they design their kits. Maybe one day they'll just deliver a bag of loose bits that you can build to your heart's content, but probably not, I would guess. So ultimately, yeah, there's a couple of bits here and there, you know. There's like the connection points on the cheeks of some of the faces, and sometimes on the top of a bald head, and there's things like the occasional bit right up against the seam where a shoulder goes in, and occasionally some things have to just click into place with a little bit more force than you perhaps not realizing than you need. But ultimately, they're just very good sprues. They're very good models, and I wholeheartedly recommend these. I'm not going to give them a 10 out of 10. Nothing gets a 10 out of 10. But these are damn close. 9.5 out of 10 on the Land Raider scale. And like I said, I really don't have a lot to say, which is great for a Sprue review. If you don't have much to say, then it's a sign of pretty great quality. So there you have it. Pretty quick one from me. It's already starting to heat up here as I perform this part of the video, and I've got to go and edit things. It's not as bad as it has been all week, but it is starting to get a little bit toasty, so I need to move with the speed of Hermes. I've played a lot of Hades 2 over the last week. It's all I've been able to do. That, and I nearly gave myself an injury by editing the video on Thursday and passing out. That wasn't great, so I just cowered in fear of the sun indoors. So yes, we're gonna get stuff built, not built, we're going to get stuff painted over the weekend. Let me know what you'd like me to see me do first. I have nearly finished Grell, which is about 75% of the way through, and the Butcher, which we've done, or at least started to do, as a Blood Gullet Butcher. That's about 40% of the way through. So which one should I do first out of Red the Moor or Morga the Mighty? That's the kind of the two big centerpiece models, and I don't know which one to do first. I kind of want to do Morga, but don't let me influence you, even though I am an influencer, and this video is influencing, so don't let us do that. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna wrap things up there. My brain isn't functioning, as you can tell, and it's about time that we get on with some work. So I will see you very soon for another Sprue review, I'm sure, and if not, we'll see you for some painting content on the Ogor Mawtribes later on this week. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.